The last 5 minutes were the longest of Yuna's life. The chamber had given up trying to break her with pain. Now it was trying something different. It was showing her peace. It was showing her rest. It was showing her everything she wanted most in the world. She saw her home. A small apartment in Seoul with windows that looked out over the city. She saw her bed, soft and warm and safe. She saw her family gathered around the table, eating and laughing and calling her name. "Come home," they said. "You have done enough. You can rest now. Just take one step. Just one small step. And you can be with us again." The vision was so beautiful that it hurt. Yuna wanted to believe it. She wanted to step out of the circle and fall into that dream. She was so tired. She had been standing for so long. What was one small step? But she knew the truth. If she moved, she would fail. If she failed, she would let down everyone who believed in her. She would let down her family. She would let down her country. She would let down humanity. One step is not small, she told herself. One step is everything. She stayed still. The vision faded. The chamber tried again. This time, it showed her failure. It showed her walking out of the chamber in shame. It showed the other aliens laughing at her. It showed Vorik shaking his head with disappointment. "You were close," the vision of Vorik said. "But close is not enough. Humans will always be weak. Humans will always fail." Yuna felt anger rise in her chest. Not at the chamber. Not at Vorik. At the universe itself. At everyone who had ever said that humans were not enough. At everyone who had ever looked down on her planet and her people. "We built cities from dust," she thought. "We crossed oceans without knowing what was on the other side. We flew into space with nothing but math and hope. We fell down 1,000 times, and we stood up 1,001. We are human. And we do not quit." The anger became strength. The strength became stillness. Yuna stood like a statue in the darkness, unmoved and unbroken. 59 minutes, a voice said. Vorik's voice. It sounded different now. It sounded almost respectful. 1 more minute. 60 seconds. Yuna counted them in her head. Each second was a victory. Each second was a message to the galaxy. Humans are here. Humans are strong. Humans will not back down. The chamber made one last attempt. It gathered all its power and threw it at her. Pain like fire. Cold like death. Fear like falling into endless darkness. Everything at once. Everything it had. Yuna felt it all. She did not pretend it did not hurt. She did not pretend she was not afraid. She felt every bit of it. And she let it pass through her like water through stones. 10 seconds. 9. 8. 7. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. The body can endure more than you think. But only if the mind is strong. 6. 5. 4. Her grandfather's voice joined it. This stone helped me remember who I was. 3. 2. 1. A loud bell rang through the chamber. The attack stopped instantly. The darkness lifted. The lights came back on. And Yuna was still standing in the circle, exactly where she had started. For a moment, she could not believe it. Was it real? Had she actually done it? The door opened. Vorik walked in. He moved slowly, his yellow eyes fixed on her face. Behind him, she could see Taro and several other aliens. They were all staring at her with expressions she could not read. Vorik stopped in front of her. He looked at her for a long time. Then he did something Yuna did not expect. He bowed. A deep, respectful bow that bent his tall body almost in half. "You have passed," he said quietly. Yuna tried to respond, but her voice would not come. Her legs finally gave out, and she fell to her knees. But she did not fall out of the circle. Even now, even after the test was over, she stayed inside the lines. Varric reached down and helped her stand. His hands were gentle. His eyes were no longer cold. "I have trained soldiers for 200 years," he said. "I have seen warriors from every corner of the galaxy. But I have never seen anything like what you did today." Yuna finally found her voice. "I just stood still." Varric shook his head. "No, you did much more than that. The chamber attacked you with everything it had. It showed you pain beyond measure. It showed you fear beyond reason. And you stood through all of it. Not because you could not feel it, but because you chose not to let it control you." He paused. "That is not standing still. That is courage." Word spread quickly through the station. By the end of the day, every alien knew what had happened. The human had passed the chamber. The human had lasted the full hour. The human had done what no one believed was possible. Some of them did not believe it at first. They thought it was a joke or a mistake. But then they saw the video. They saw the small woman standing in the darkness, unmoved through pain and fire and terror. And they understood. Humans were not weak. Humans were not soft. Humans had something inside them that could not be broken. A week later, Varric called Yuna to his office. She walked in expecting another test. But instead, he offered her a chair and poured her a drink. "I have a proposal for you," he said. "The Galactic Training Station needs new instructors. We need beings who can teach others what true strength means. I would like you to stay and become one of our trainers." Yuna was surprised. "Me? But I am just a human." Varric smiled. It was a real smile this time. Warm and genuine. "Yes," he said. "You are just a human. And that is exactly why we need you." Yuna thought about it for a long moment. She thought about Earth and her family and everything she had left behind. Then she thought about the future. She thought about other humans who would come to this station. She thought about showing them that they were stronger than they knew. "I will stay," she said, and so she did. Years later, when young trainees from across the galaxy came to the station, they would hear the story of the human who passed the chamber without moving an inch. They would see her walking through the hallways calm and quiet, with eyes that had seen the darkness and had not looked away. And they would learn the truth that Yuna had always known. Strength is not about the body. Strength is about the choice to keep standing when everything tells you to fall. Strength is about being human. And humans, as the galaxy would come to learn, were the strongest of them all. Outside the chamber, Varric was watching a screen. His yellow eyes were wide. His gray hands were shaking slightly. He could not believe what he was seeing. The human had been in the chamber for 45 minutes. 40-5 minutes. No human had ever lasted this long. No human had ever come close. The previous record was 23 minutes, and that human had been screaming by the end. But this woman, this small, quiet woman from Earth, she was still standing. Varric looked at the data on his screen. The chamber was operating at maximum power. It was throwing everything it had at her. Pain, fear, heat, cold, psychological attacks, physical attacks, everything. And she was not moving. "Impossible," Varric whispered. His assistant, a young alien named Taro, stood beside him. Taro had purple skin and large black eyes. He was staring at the screen with the same disbelief as his master. "Should we stop the test?" Taro asked. "She might die in there." Varric shook his head slowly. "No, the chamber is designed to push trainees to their limit. It will not kill her. It will only make her wish she was dead." He paused. "But she is not wishing for death. Look at her face. Look at her eyes. She is not afraid. She is not suffering. She is accepting." Taro looked at the screen. The human woman's face was wet with tears. Her skin was red and damaged. Her body was shaking from exhaustion. but her eyes were calm. They were looking straight ahead. They were seeing something that the cameras could not show. "What is she thinking about?" Taro asked. "I do not know," Vorik said. "But whatever it is stronger than anything the chamber can create." Inside the chamber, Yuna was losing track of her body. The pain had become so constant that it had stopped feeling like pain. It had become something else. A presence. A weight. Something that was always there, like the air or the darkness. She could not feel her legs anymore. She knew they were still holding her up, but she could not feel them. Her arms were hanging at her sides, heavy and numb. Her face was wet with tears and sweat. Her lungs were burning with every breath, but her mind was clear. She was thinking about her grandfather. He had died when she was 16 years old. He had been a soldier in the Korean War. He had fought in battles that no one talked about anymore. He had seen friends die. He had been wounded twice, but he had never given up. Before he died, he had given Yuna a small stone. It was smooth and gray. He had carried it through the entire war. He had held it in his hand during the worst moments of his life. "This stone helped me remember who I was," he had told her. "When everything else was chaos, I would hold this stone and remember that I was still me." The war could not take that away. Yuna still had that stone. It was in her room on Earth, sitting on her desk next to her bed. She wished she could hold it now, but she did not need it. The stone was just a reminder. The real strength was inside her. "I am still me," she thought. This chamber cannot take that away. The chamber seemed to hear her thoughts. It responded with new attacks. The pain in her body doubled, then tripled. Yuna felt like her bones were breaking. She felt like her skin was being peeled away. She felt like she was dying, but she was not dying. She was alive. And as long as she was alive, she would stand. Somewhere in the darkness, she heard a sound. It was different from the other sounds the chamber had made. It was a voice. A real voice. Not the fake voices that tried to break her spirit. 47 minutes. It was Vorik. He was speaking through a speaker in the room. His voice sounded different than before. It sounded uncertain. Yuna almost smiled. 47 minutes. She had already broken the record. She had already done what no human had done before. But she was not going to stop at 47 minutes. She was going to finish 13 more minutes. That was all she needed. 30 more minutes of pain. 30 more minutes of fear. 30 more minutes of standing still. She could do it. The chamber attacked again. This time, it did not hold back. It threw everything at her at once. Pain, cold, heat, noise, images, voices, everything it had used before, all at the same time. Yuna's body screamed for her to move. Every muscle wanted to run. Every nerve wanted to escape. But she stayed still. She stayed rooted to the circle on the floor. She thought about a tree. A tree stands through storms. A tree stands through winter. A tree does not move, no matter what happens. It simply exists. It simply waits. It simply survives. I am a tree, Yuna thought. I have roots that go deep into the earth. I have branches that reach toward the sky. The storm can shake me. The wind can bend me. But I will not fall. The minutes passed. Each one felt like an hour. But they passed. Outside the chamber, Vorik was standing now. He was not sitting in his chair. He was standing in front of the screen, watching the human woman who refused to break. 55 minutes, Taro said quietly. Vorik did not respond. He was thinking about everything he had believed about humans. He had been so sure they were weak. He had been so sure they could not survive the chamber. But this woman was proving him wrong. What makes them so strong? He wondered. They have small bodies. They have short lives. They are not the fastest or the smartest or the most powerful. What is it that makes them stand when everyone else falls? He did not know the answer, but he knew that after today, he would never underestimate humans again. The chamber was changing. Yuna could feel it. The attacks on her body were getting stronger. But now, something new was happening. The room was attacking her mind. It started with whispers. Soft voices that seemed to come from inside her own head. They spoke in Korean. They said things that she did not want to hear. "You are going to fail," the voices said. "You are not strong enough. You are just a human. You do not belong here." Yuna did not listen. She knew the voices were not real. They were created by the chamber. They were designed to make her doubt herself. But the voices kept talking. They got louder. They got louder. They said crueler things. "Your family is ashamed of you. Your country sent you here to die. No one believes in you. No one is waiting for you to come home." Yuna felt something in her chest. It was a small pain. Not physical, emotional. The words hurt because part of her was afraid they might be true. What if she did fail? What if she never saw her family again? What if she died in this cold room, far from everyone she loved? "Stop," she told herself. "These are not real thoughts. This is the chamber. It is trying to break you." She focused on her breathing again. In through the nose, out through the mouth, slow and steady. The voices faded a little, but they did not go away. Then the images started. The darkness around her changed. It was no longer empty. Now, she could see things. Shapes moving in the shadows. Faces appearing and disappearing. She saw her mother. Her mother was crying. She was standing in a hospital room, looking down at something. Yuna realized it was a body. Her body. She was dead in the image. Her mother was crying over her dead body. "No," Yuna whispered. Then she stopped herself. She had almost spoken. Speaking meant failure. The image changed. Now she saw her father. He was old and alone. He was sitting in an empty house. There were no pictures on the walls. No sounds of family. He had lost everything. He had lost her. Yuna felt tears forming in her eyes. She could not stop them. They rolled down her cheeks and fell to the floor. But she did not move. She did not wipe them away. She let them fall. The chamber was clever. It was not just attacking her with fear. It was attacking her with love. It was using the people she cared about most. It was showing her a future where she had failed them. But Yuna understood something the chamber did not. Love was not a weakness. Love was strength. She loved her family. She loved her country. She loved her people. And that love would not make her break. It would make her stand. "I am standing for them," she thought. "Every second I stay still, I am fighting for them." The images kept coming. They showed terrible things. War, death, suffering. They showed things that Yuna had seen in her military service. Things she had tried to forget. She saw the face of a soldier she had lost. A young man named Jinho. He had been 21 years old. He had died in her arms during a training accident. She had carried his body for 3 hours until help arrived. She still dreamed about him sometimes. "You could not save him," the voice said. "You cannot save anyone. You are weak." Yuna felt the pain of that memory. It was old and deep. But she did not let it destroy her. Jinho would not want her to give up. He had been a fighter. He had believed in her. And she would honor his memory by standing strong. Time continued to pass. Yuna had no idea how long she had been in the chamber. It could have been 20 minutes. It could have been 40. The pain and fear had made time lose all meaning. Her body was suffering. Her legs hurt from standing still. Her muscles were tired. The heat and cold had damaged her skin. Her lungs burned from the chemicals in the air. But her mind was still strong. Her will was still unbroken. The chamber seemed to sense this. It changed its approach. The images stopped. The voices went quiet. For a moment, there was only silence and darkness. Then the real pain began. It felt like electricity was running through her body. Every nerve was on fire. Her skin felt like it was being torn apart. Her bones felt like they were being crushed. It was the worst pain she had ever felt in her life. Yuna wanted to scream. She wanted to fall to her knees and beg for it to stop. But she did not move. She did not make a sound. She just stood there in the darkness and let the pain wash over her. She thought about water. Her grandmother had taught her to think about water when things were hard. Water was soft. Water was gentle. But water could wear down mountains. Water could cut through stone. Water was patient. Be like water, her grandmother had said. Let the hard things pass through you. Do not fight them. Do not resist them. Just let them go. Yuna imagined the pain as water. It was flowing through her body. It was moving around her. But it was not staying. It was passing through. And when it was gone, she would still be standing. The pain continued. Yuna kept breathing. She kept thinking about water. She kept thinking about her grandmother. She kept thinking about everyone who had ever believed in her. Somewhere, far above her, the stars were shining. Somewhere, far below her, Earth was spinning. And here, in this dark room, a single human woman was refusing to break. The chamber did not understand. It had been built to defeat strong bodies. But Yuna was not fighting with her body. She was fighting with her soul, and the soul does not break. Yuna woke before the alarm. Her body knew that something important was coming. She sat up in the dark room and took a deep breath. Today was the day. She washed her face with cold water. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her eyes were calm. Her hands were steady. She had slept well, which surprised her. Most people would have been too nervous to sleep. But Yuna had learned long ago that rest was a weapon. A tired mind was a weak mind. She put on her training clothes. They were simple. Black pants. A black shirt. Nothing extra. Nothing that would get in her way. She tied her hair back and walked out of her room. The hallway was quiet. Most of the other trainees were still sleeping. But as Yuna walked toward the training area, she saw Vorik waiting for her. He was standing in front of a large metal door. His yellow eyes watched her approach. "You are early," he said. "I am ready," she replied. Vorik studied her face. He was looking for fear. He was looking for doubt. But Yuna gave him nothing. Her face was like stone. "Follow me," he said. He pressed his hand against the door. It slid open with a soft hiss. Behind it was another hallway, darker than the first. The walls were made of some kind of black metal. The air was colder here. Yuna felt the temperature drop with each step. They walked for several minutes. The hallway went down, deeper into the station. Finally, they reached another door. This one was larger than the first. It had strange symbols carved into its surface. "This is the endurance chamber," Vorik said. It was built 300 years ago by the Valori Empire. They used it to train their elite soldiers. Only the strongest could survive it. He looked at Yuna. The Valori were 10 times stronger than humans. They could survive in the emptiest parts of space. They could fight for days without food or water. And even they found this chamber difficult. Yuna nodded. She did not speak. She was saving her energy. Vorik pressed another button. The door opened slowly. Inside, Yuna saw a round room. The floor was made of metal. The walls were covered with small holes. In the center of the room, There was a circle painted on the floor. It was just big enough for one person to stand in. You will stand in that circle, Varric explained. You will not move your feet. You will not bend your knees. You will not fall. If any part of your body touches the floor outside the circle, you fail. If you speak, you fail. If you close your eyes for more than 3 seconds, you fail. Yuna walked into the room. She stood in the circle and faced Varric. He was watching her from the doorway. The chamber will attack you in waves, he continued. First, it will attack your body. You will feel heat, then cold, then pain. The holes in the walls will release chemicals that affect your skin and your lungs. Yuna looked at the walls. The small holes seemed to be watching her. After the physical attacks, the chamber will attack your mind. It will create sounds that hurt your ears. It will create images that frighten you. It will show you your worst fears. It will make you believe things that are not real. Varric stepped back. The test lasts 1 hour. In that time, the attacks will get stronger and stronger. Most trainees break in the first 10 minutes. The strong ones last 20 or 30 minutes. No human has ever lasted more than 23 minutes. He paused. Do you have any questions? Yuna shook her head. Then let us begin. Varric pressed a button on his wrist. The door began to close. Good luck, human. You will need it. The door shut with a heavy sound. Yuna was alone. For a moment, nothing happened. The room was silent. The air was still. Yuna stood in the circle and waited. She focused on her breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Slow and steady. Then the lights went out. Yuna stood in complete darkness. She could not see anything. Not the walls. Not the floor. Not even her own hands. But she did not panic. Darkness was just the absence of light. It could not hurt her. A sound started. It was quiet at first. A low humming that seemed to come from everywhere. Then it got louder. And louder. The sound pressed against her ears like hands trying to squeeze her head. It was painful. It made her want to cover her ears, but she did not move. The sound changed. It became a scream. High and sharp. Like 100 voices crying out in pain. Yuna felt her heart beat faster. Her body wanted to run. Every instinct told her to get away from that terrible sound, but she did not move. Then the heat came. The air around her became hot. So hot that it hurt to breathe. Her skin felt like it was burning. Sweat poured down her face and body. She felt like she was standing inside a fire. Yuna thought about her grandmother again. Her grandmother had survived a burning building when she was young. She had told Yuna that the fire had seemed endless. But she had kept moving. She had kept breathing. And she had made it out alive. If my grandmother could survive real fire. Yuna thought, I can survive this. The heat stopped suddenly. Then the cold came. It was so cold that Yuna's body started to shake. Her muscles wanted to move. Her teeth wanted to chatter. But she forced herself to stay still. She breathed slowly. She focused on the circle beneath her feet. Do not move, she told herself. Do not move. Time passed. Yuna did not know how much. It could have been minutes. It could have been hours. In this room, time did not feel real. The chamber was testing her. It was looking for her weakness. But she would not give it one. She would not break. Somewhere outside this room, Varric was watching. He expected her to fail. He wanted her to fail. He wanted to prove that humans were weak, but Yuna was not weak. She was the granddaughter of survivors. She was the daughter of fighters. She was human. And humans did not break. The ship was cold. Yuna pulled her jacket tighter around her body as she walked down the metal hallway. The lights above her head made a soft buzzing sound. She had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach this place. The Galactic training station floated in the darkness of space, far from Earth, far from everything she knew. Yuna was 32 years old. She had served in the Korean military for 8 years before she got selected for this mission. The government had chosen her because she was strong, smart, and calm under pressure. But now, walking through this alien station, she did not feel strong. She felt small. The hallway opened into a large room. It was filled with beings from different planets. Some had 4 arms. Some had skin like stone. Others had no eyes at all. They all turned to look at her when she entered. She was the only human in the room. A tall creature walked toward her. He had gray skin and yellow eyes. His body was thin but muscular. He moved like a snake, smooth and dangerous. On his chest, he wore a badge that showed his rank. He was a trainer. "You are the human," he said. His voice was deep and rough. "Yes," Yuna answered. She kept her voice steady. "I am Lieutenant Yuna Park." The creature looked at her for a long moment. His yellow eyes moved up and down her body. She could tell he was not impressed. "I am Vorik," he said. "I am the head trainer of this station. I have trained soldiers from 47 different species. I have seen warriors who could lift mountains. I have seen fighters who could run for days without rest." He leaned closer to her. "I have never seen a human complete my training." Yuna did not look away from his eyes. "Then I will be the first." Some of the aliens in the room made sounds. Yuna did not know if they were laughing or surprised. Vorik did not react at all. He just stared at her with those cold yellow eyes. "Humans are weak," Vorik said. "Your bodies break easily. Your minds give up quickly. You are soft creatures from a soft planet." Yuna felt anger rise in her chest. But she kept her face calm. She had dealt with people who underestimated her before. This was no different. "I did not come here to argue," she said. "I came here to train." Vorik turned and walked toward the center of the room. "Then let us see what you are made of." The other trainees formed a circle. There were about 50 of them. They were all bigger than Yuna. They were all stronger than her. But she had something they did not understand. She had something that could not be measured by size or muscle. Vorik raised his hand. A screen appeared in the air. It showed a list of names and numbers. "Every trainee must pass a selection test," Vorik explained. "This test is different for each species. It is designed to push you to your limit." He pointed at Yuna. "For humans, the test is simple. You must stand in the endurance chamber for 1 hour without moving." The room went quiet. Yuna heard some of the aliens whisper to each other. She did not understand their languages, but she could tell they were worried for her. Or maybe they were excited to watch her fail. "What is the endurance chamber?" she asked. Vorik smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "The endurance chamber attacks your body and mind. It creates pain. It creates fear. It creates everything your brain tells you to run from. If you move even 1 inch, you fail. If you fall down, you fail. If you cry out, you fail." Yuna thought about this. "And if I pass?" "No one has ever passed," Vorik said. "The longest a human lasted was 23 minutes. He screamed for his mother and fell to his knees. Vorik laughed. "Humans always break." Yuna looked around the room. She saw the doubt in everyone's eyes. They all believed she would fail. They all thought humans were weak. She thought about her country. She thought about her family. She thought about every person on Earth who was counting on her. "When do I start?" she asked. Vorik's smile faded. He had expected her to be scared. He had expected her to ask for time to prepare. But she stood there, calm and ready. "Tomorrow morning," he said. "You have 1 night to rest. I suggest you use it well." He turned and walked away. The other aliens followed him. Soon, Yuna was alone in the room. She found her way to the sleeping area. It was a small room with a hard bed. The walls were gray. The air smelled strange. She sat down on the bed and closed her eyes. She thought about her grandmother. Her grandmother had lived through war. She had survived hunger, cold, and loss. When Yuna was a little girl, her grandmother would tell her stories about those dark days. The body can endure more than you think, her grandmother always said, but only if the mind is strong. Pain is just a feeling. Fear is just a thought. You can choose to let them control you, or you can choose to be still. Yuna had never forgotten those words. She had used them during her military training. She had used them during the hardest moments of her life. And she would use them tomorrow. She lay down on the bed and stared at the ceiling. Somewhere out there, millions of light years away, her family was sleeping. They did not know what she was about to face. They only knew that she had gone to represent humanity among the stars. She could not let them down. She could not let Earth down. Tomorrow, she would show the galaxy what humans were made of. Not muscle, not speed, not size, but something deeper, something unbreakable. Yuna closed her eyes and let herself fall asleep. Tomorrow would come soon enough. And when it did, she would be ready. The last thought in her mind before sleep took her was simple. Do not move. No matter what happens, do not move. And she knew with perfect certainty that she would not.